It is exactly 2:14 a.m. on the eve of daylight saving time when millions of Americans are dreaming of spring road trips. But inside the 5th Fleet's Combat Information Center, red monitors paint a violent reality. Thousands of miles from Ohio, the pitch-black Persian Gulf is illuminated by a catastrophic fireball as an Allied oil tanker takes a direct hit from an Iranian Noor cruise missile. The behemoth bleeds burning crude, and the stakes are lethal. If this fortress sinks into the Hormuz Strait, then the global supply chain snaps, and diesel creeping past $4 a gallon will shatter records, draining every trucker's wallet by sunrise. But here is the genius detail the architects of this ambush completely missed. While Iranian operators are likely high-fiving in their bunkers, thinking they crippled the US economy, they have no idea they just kicked a grizzly bear. Stay focused, because how this ends is a masterclass in making the enemy bleed. Right now, somewhere in a reinforced bunker beneath Bandar Abbas, Islamic Revolutionary Guard commanders are popping open non-alcoholic champagne and patting themselves on the back. They think they have orchestrated the ultimate naval checkmate against the United States. Screaming across the dark water at low altitude is a literal zombie horde of 32 Shahed-136 suicide drones, perfectly synchronized with a vicious wolf pack of Boghammar speedboats, all tearing toward the crippled tanker to finish the job. This is their pride and joy, a textbook asymmetrical warfare doctrine designed to overwhelm multi-billion-dollar American defenses with pure, disposable garbage. The Iranian generals are doing the math, assuming they are about to bankrupt the mighty US Navy by forcing them to fire gold-plated interceptors at flying lawnmowers. It is a terrifyingly simple and brutally effective swarm strategy that looks absolutely unstoppable on paper. But wait, there is a lethal error in their arithmetic. The Iranian planners are celebrating a victory that only exists in their minds because 30,000 feet above the chaos, a 24-foot radar dome mounted on an E-2D advanced Hawkeye is already slicing through the night. This all-seeing airborne brain has stripped away every ounce of stealth from the inbound swarm, instantly sharing the exact coordinates of 32 cheap plastic drones directly down a secure data link to the Aegis combat system aboard the Arleigh-Burke-class destroyer USS McFaul. The American warship does not panic or flinch as the digital threat rings expand on the tactical displays, because the crew knows a devastating secret that the enemy is about to learn the hard way. While the enemy believes they have forced a crippling financial dilemma, the Pentagon has quietly deployed a technological trump card designed to butcher a cheap drone wave. If you ask why this is going to be so humiliating, I will tell you an unbelievable military secret. The USS McFaul is staring down the barrel of a brutal mathematical nightmare, a terrifying cost-exchange ratio that has haunted American naval architects for a decade. On the glowing screens of the Aegis combat system, 32 hostile blips are racing toward the burning oil tanker, and every single one of those Shahed-136 drones is essentially a flying moped packed with explosive garbage that costs about $20,000 to build. The destroyer is armed to the teeth with a vertical launch system packed with Standard Missile, 2S and RIM, 162 evolved Sea Sparrow missiles, apex predators of the sky that cost roughly $2 million and $1.7 million apiece. If you were the commander of the McFaul right now, watching those cheap suicide drones close the distance, what would your next move be? If the captain orders the launch of $64 million worth of interceptors to swat down $600,000 worth of Iranian flying scrap metal, the United States technically survives the night, but they lose the strategic war by bleeding their deep magazines dry before the real fight even begins. This is the exact trap the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps thinks they have sprung, hoping to bankrupt the American fleet one intercept at a time, forcing the mighty warship to deplete its vertical launch cells and leaving it completely defenseless against heavier, supersonic anti-ship missiles that might be lurking just over the horizon. Only those with a razor-sharp strategic mind will realize that this is not just a tactical defense scenario. It is a high-stakes game of financial poker, played with guided munitions over the most critical energy choke point on the planet. The tension in the Combat Information Center is thick enough to cut with a combat knife as the ANSPY-1D radar system automatically tracks, categorizes, and locks onto every single incoming threat in a fraction of a millisecond, dividing the battle space into precise kill zones while calculating the perfect firing solution. A normal crew might sweat under the pressure of choosing between letting an Allied vessel burn to a crisp or firing away millions of taxpayer dollars into the dark Persian Gulf sky. The Pentagon has spent years preparing a terrifyingly cost-effective response to this exact scenario, heavily weaponizing American ingenuity to ensure that the United States never has to trade a $1 million missile for a $20,000 drone. The Aegis system is not panicking. It is simply waiting for the perfect geometric alignment to unleash absolute hell, and the thermal truth is about to get very, very loud. Back in their coastal command centers and bouncing violently on the waves inside their stripped-down Boghammar speedboats, the Iranian Revolutionary Guard forces are absolutely drowning in their own unearned arrogance. They are staring at their tactical screens, watching the USS McFaul holding its fire against the incoming drone wave, and they are completely convinced that the American Colossus has blinked first, paralyzed by the financial absurdity of shooting down a swarm of $20,000 disposable flying trash cans. The Iranian speedboat crews, armed with nothing more than heavy machine guns, cheap rocket-propelled grenades, and a dangerous level of overconfidence, are actually high-fiving each other over the unencrypted radio network, aggressively throttling up their engines to swarm the burning oil tanker and record a humiliating propaganda video for state television. They genuinely believe they have cracked the ultimate code of modern naval warfare, proving to the world that a chaotic, suicidal swarm of low-tech assets can successfully force a multi-billion-dollar Aegis destroyer into a state of terrified inaction. In their propagandized minds, the United States Navy is helplessly watching the geopolitical checkmate unfold, entirely unwilling to drain their expensive vertical launch silos to protect a single civilian vessel in the Strait of Hormuz. The sheer embarrassment they are planning to inflict on the Western Alliance is intoxicating, leading them to abandon all basic tactical discipline as their speedboats sprint recklessly toward the illuminated kill zone, eager to claim maritime glory. But folks, here is the lethal error in their grand illusion of victory. They are so blinded by the idea that America only fights with $2 million sledgehammers that they forgot the Pentagon also knows how to use a razor-cheap scalpel. Stay tuned, because the physics of destruction in the next 30 seconds is about to change the map forever. Just as the Iranian commanders are convinced their $20,000 flying lawnmowers are about to break the back of American naval dominance, a completely silent shadow detaches from the flight deck of the USS McFaul. The enemy is looking for a $2 million pillar of smoke from a vertical launch system, but instead, they completely miss the MH-60R Seahawk submarine hunting helicopter slipping into the pitch-black sky, hovering like a mechanical bird of prey. Time to impact for the drone swarm is exactly 45 seconds, and the radar warning receivers on the Iranian speedboats are dead silent because the American helicopter is not broadcasting a single millimeter of targeting radar that would give away its position. If you are watching closely, you will realize this is where the United States military flips the script on asymmetrical warfare, proving you do not need a sledgehammer when a perfectly placed sniper round costs a fraction of the price. The Seahawk pilot simply waits for the Aegis combat system to feed the exact coordinates of the incoming zombie horde directly into the fire control computer, locking onto the heat signatures of the Shahed drones with crystal-clear thermal imaging. This is the ultimate insider secret, making this defense a masterpiece of financial intimidation. Underneath the stub wings of the Seahawk are pods loaded with advanced precision kill weapon system rockets, which are essentially standard, unguided Hydra 70 rockets retrofitted with a dirt-cheap laser guidance kit screwed onto the nose. By attaching a simple laser seeker to a dumb rocket, the Pentagon created a $30,000 precision-guided meat grinder that completely solves the $1 million missile dilemma, turning a massive financial liability into an absolute turkey shoot. The Iranian swarm is 30 seconds away from the tanker when the pilot squeezes the trigger, sending a continuous, deafening ripple of APKWS rockets screaming off the launch rails, tracing brilliant streaks of solid rocket exhaust through the humid Gulf air. The cheap laser seekers instantly acquire the painted targets, calculating the perfect interception geometry in milliseconds as they pull extreme G-forces to adjust their flight paths, homing in on the cheap plastic wings of the Iranian suicide drones. Most people only see a helicopter firing rockets, but the tactical masterminds watching this unfold understand they are witnessing a $64 million defense bill slashed down to absolute pennies in seconds. Stay with me, because the final move is a devastating physics lesson. The first APKWS rocket slams into the lead, Shahed-136 at precisely 22 seconds to impact, instantly vaporizing the $20,000 fuselage into a harmless cloud of burning confetti over the Persian Gulf. In rapid succession, a relentless chain reaction of fragmentation warheads shreds the entire zombie swarm, effortlessly turning the Iranian commander's proud tactical achievement into a shower of blazing metallic rain. Down on the surface, the swagger of the Revolutionary Guard crews evaporates into pure terror as the USS McFaul finally unleashes its muscular response. The destroyer's 5-inch Mark 45 main gun violently clears its throat, sending a brutal barrage of airburst munitions detonating directly above the Boghammar formation, raining lethal shrapnel that punches through their engines like a hot knife through butter. But wait! There is one more layer to this triple threat failure, because the Phalanx close-in weapon system spins up its radar-guided Gatling gun, spitting a wall of depleted uranium rounds at 4,500 shots per minute to completely saw the surviving speedboats in half before they can even scream for air cover. Up in the stratosphere, the final victim of this humiliating night arrives in the form of an Iranian MiG-29 fighter jet, arrogantly loitering to provide imaginary top cover. Little do they know, an American F-35, a Lightning II, has been stalking this outdated relic for 20 minutes, running completely radio silent and using its passive AAQ-37 distributed aperture system to lock onto the heat of the MiG's twin engines without emitting a single radar wave. As soon as the stealth pilot casually activates the targeting lock for an AIM-120D AMRAAM, the threat warning receivers inside the Iranian cockpit scream like a banshee, causing the terrified pilot to violently yank his flight stick and flee for his life. Only those with a strategic mind understand the sheer embarrassment of this. The smoking remnants of the $64 million Iranian dream are now just sinking trash in the Persian Gulf, totally neutralized by a brilliant American electronic warfare response that costs less than the aviation fuel required to launch it. The massive Allied oil tanker sails completely unharmed, its critical diesel payload securely locked away from the flames, ensuring that the domestic American economy will not feel a single ripple from this pathetic attempt at a blockade. Out in the pitch-black water, the USS McFaul sits quietly like an untouched titan, its 96 vertical launch cells still packed to the brim with multi-million-dollar interceptors, having successfully defended the global choke point without sacrificing a single high-end missile from its deep magazine. The entire electromagnetic spectrum is now thoroughly dominated by the United States, proving that throwing cheap toys at a superior force is an expensive form of suicide. But folks, here is the twist. The Iranian military did not just lose a swarm of cheap drones tonight. They handed the Pentagon a golden intelligence victory on a silver platter. While the speedboats were sinking, the Hawkeye was quietly vacuuming up unencrypted radio transmissions, tracking the telemetry data back to their hidden underground launch facilities. Right now, those coordinates are being fed directly into the firing solutions of Tomahawk cruise missiles inside an Ohio-class submarine prowling the Arabian Sea, ready to turn those multi-million-dollar bunkers into smoking craters before sunrise. The United States just proved that modern warfare is a ruthless math equation where American flexibility shatters the myth of the swarm. Only those with a sharp tactical mind can answer this. If you were the Iranian commander tomorrow morning, would you try to save your bruised ego by launching another doomed wave? Or would you start begging for a ceasefire? Let me know your Grandmaster move in the comments.